Around the world, there are attacks on Christians for no other reason than their faith. Witness what is happening every day in the Middle East, where Christians are being driven from their homes by the thousands. Here in America, attacks on Christianity come in a different form. And at present, the furor continues about a television program and the subject matter, turning the devil himself into a form of entertainment. And it's not sitting well with a growing number of people. Our guest is a prolific writer, commentator, author, and motivational speaker, seen and heard nationally in many places, including right here on the Hard Line. Pastor of Our Lady of Lourdes in Massapequa Park, New York, Msgr. Jim Lisante. Msgr, always a pleasure to see you.
Thanks for having me back.
Pleasure. Msgr, the Fox News Network always talks about family values. Now, the Fox Entertainment Network, they are connected because they're both in the same corporation, is creating the show called Lucifer that is supposed to air this fall. And people are very upset about it because they say it shows an attack on Christianity and it shows a lack of family values. How do you take it?
Well, you know what, I'm reminded by this Lucifer controversy and the protests coming against it. A few years ago in New York City, we had a play called Corpus Christi. It was written by Terrence McNally, and he attempted to make Jesus and all the apostles into a gaggle of gay guys. Well, of course, you know, many protesters stood outside the theater and they said, this is terrible. The truth is that it was a terrible play, badly written, badly acted, and would have gone away pretty quickly, except for the protests. So my concern with any protest against Lucifer or any program for Fox or anyone else is sometimes we just drum up attention for the people who would have walked away from it, but now say, well, let's see what the controversy is about. So I am concerned about any protest. I suspect this program, like most programming on TV, will go away of its own accord. Having said that, the thing about Lucifer that I find intriguing is many people are offended that this character of the devil on TV has been made to look attractive. And if you see the clips, he's an attractive actor. Having said that, too, let me also say that I think Lucifer, the real deal, the real devil, is not what we think in terms of the tail and the horns and this ugly, repulsive thing. I think the devil works through the attractive, I've said often about some of our most recent political presidents and politicians that, you know, the devil doesn't come in tail and horns. Sometimes he comes with a slight southern drawl. He can be someone who is very attractive and very convincing, but is representing values that are absolutely antithetical to what we value. So I'm not sure that the people at Fox, in making him an attractive character, are doing what isn't real. I think Lucifer, the devil, is in fact a very attractive character, which is why so many people are drawn to him. So from that point of view, maybe it's an interesting read. Just one other thing, and I know, Ed, you're going to talk about it some more, but we're America, and in America, we respect and honor our First Amendment rights. We may loathe what people say, but we respect their right to say it. There are fools out there who want to burn the American flag. I think they're fools. You probably think they're fools. But you know what our Supreme Court said? We have a right to be fools. Having said that, remember Gary Trudeau, the comic writer of that strip, Doonesbury. He said recently, and I think I'm in agreement, that the fact that we have the right to be fools and to be offensive and to alienate and hurt people of religion doesn't mean we should do it. And that's what I'd say to the people behind Lucifer and any other programming that attempts to attack or denigrate any organized religion.
I'm going to make that the perfect word on what we talked about in this. That ends it right there, but I got a couple of minutes left. I need to ask you about a guy that some people see as the devil, and that's Vladimir Putin, the guy who runs Russia. He kept the Pope waiting for quite a long time. I think it was well over an hour. The Pope's trying to be political here, but in your opinion, is this a stance maybe from Putin to say, you may be the Pope, but I'm going to show you who's in charge?
Well, you know what I love? You know, obviously Putin went to Italy last week because he wanted to say to the rest of the European leaders, you can stand with America, but I still have my inroads into Europe, and specifically I can get an audience with the Pope, and he will take me seriously. However, let's not miss the message of the Pope, which is, hey, you have an obligation to make peace and to stop the violence in the Ukraine. And I'm glad that the Pope met him. Pope can only do good things by meeting with people, even people he doesn't agree with. But also he got the message there just as he has time and time again. He's not afraid to say to people in power, use your power correctly. And I'm very glad that the Pope and Putin met, because it's very good for one of the greatest moral leaders of our time, Pope Francis, to be able to look into the eyes of this man and say, you can make the violence go away. You can stop this civil war. You can stop the killing that's going on of innocent people. It's all in your hands. Use your power. And of course, by saying that to Putin, who loves his power, I think he's playing to his ego as well, which is not a bad thing. I'm glad the Holy Father met with him. I'm glad he chastised them about the Ukraine, and I'm hoping it had some effect. I have to believe someplace in that heart of Putin's there is a bit of a conscience.
I got about 30 seconds left here. Is it fair to say that the Holy Father wins, regardless of what Putin does, regardless of what he says, regardless of how he leaves him waiting? He wins just by meeting with him and making sure that the pictures are taken and his message gets across.
And you know what, he keeps the channels out of communication open. We don't want to close down. Putin might be crazy, he might be aggressive, he might have a bad plan in that heart of his, but the bottom line is we've got to keep talking to him, whether you're President Obama or Pope Francis. I love that the Pope says, I may not like or agree with you, but the dialogue will continue. We can't stop the dialogue, and I'm glad that Francis is devoted to talking to everybody of every persuasion. I hope he does it throughout his entire pontificate.
And I have a feeling that he is the kind of guy that when he says, I want to talk, people do not say no. And it's coming through loud and clear.
Right.
Monsignor Jim Lisante, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you, Ed. Bye-bye
My
now.
pleasure. Take care. And you may see him as the Pope that goes a little too far sometime, but whether you're Catholic or not, you gotta just like the guy, and you gotta like his style. Stay with us. The fastest 60 minutes in news, The Hard Line, like our style, continues.